The case study today is Sink or Swim, DEOL 754, Dr. Martin, Gardner Webb University, Donald Barringer, Angela Clayton. The summary. Sloan Women in Management Club was founded in the 1980s. It was the largest MIT focusing on creating and inviting community and advancing opportunities for women. And their goal was to attract top female students to MIT. The history of them, they had awesome events of hosting programs to cater to women, and they had three annual conferences, each year being more successful than in 2011 and 2012 specifically. The participation ranged from community panelists to renowned CEOs of over 30 MIT conferences. Swim was the best. They had 300 members, 550 Facebook fans, over 600 Twitter followers, 207 LinkedIn group members, and 300 individuals on their mailing list. A committee of 5 women assumed leadership of this committee for the year 2013, and their goal was to surpass the conference attendance of 2012. So the committee was consisted of 3 women co-presidents and 2 conference directors. Identification of issues. There were 12 issues identified. One, they followed the traditional planning instead of a new way of planning the event. The goals were focused more on self-interest and not the work of itself or the members. There was a lack of effective communication, and a lot of the communication was based upon assumptions, especially the role of the responsibilities. There was poor planning based on majors causing major setbacks, failure to schedule meetings for better communication. They maintained the previous year's structure without considering potential problems. The decision making process was known to be a problem, but everyone dismissed it. There was a failure to set specific dates and milestones. There was a failure to include students who had the skill sets to assist, but no one asked them to the last minute. Not quickly addressing the problem, but procrastinating the decision making was a major mistake. They had shared responsibility instead of assumption. There was no shared responsibility. Actually, whoever was responsible, everything was vague. Confirm duties and responsibilities, just to reiterate that, and have a written plan for implementation. The analysis and evaluation. There were 6. To develop a planning committee that had assigned duties and responsibilities. To meet with other team members to ensure the understanding of the assigned tasks that they had to do, and to monitor the progress. To have a sense of urgency and make a decision in a timely manner. Consider all the stakeholders, not just the ones that have in their own individual needs. Consider the needs of the group. Network with members of the organization to identify the problems and possible solutions. In this decision making, I realized, or our team members realized, that the leadership was missing. So we did an evaluation of the leadership for effective decision making. Leadership is needed to guide the work and provide structure and support. This was not done. As the leader of the CEO just called them in and said, okay, ladies, what is your solution? What is your answer to this question or this problem? Leadership is needed to provide a system of communication. There was no system of communication, but therefore there was a breakdown in communication. Leadership is needed to set up a chain of command for authority. Leadership need to establish a diverse group for different perspectives, to do something new and different, not what was traditionally done years before. Leadership needs to delegate responsibility for effective decision making. Leadership needed to monitor the work of the group members and to guide their decision making. So if the leader has stepped up, he would have been able to they would have been able to succeed.
And from those, from the information that was just shared related to the um, the issues that they had, plus some of the evaluations, these are three different challenges that we have identified that actually will allow these leaders to um, that will allow these leaders, excuse me, that will allow these leaders to address the different issues that we've talked about. So the first thing, one, addressing the technical challenges that they have. The leaders and chairs should set up a regular check-in with project management software so that everyone knows what's going on and can receive those updates as the timeline goes along. With project management software, it would allow everyone to be on the same page. In addition, creating that chain of command so that everyone knows who is doing what, who has the power to make a decision, and who decisions should be made with. In addition to that, creating a priority list of those things that are non-negotiable. You will notice through the case study there were some times where decisions were made when literally they could have already had the answers. But some decisions that are made that are sort of hard to change, and some of them could make a disruption within the program. One of them for this case was weather, but also some challenges with some of the vendors, etc. So creating a plan of what ifs, meaning this hub of people who are working together, the experienced and the newbies, could actually get together. What are some what ifs that could happen, and how can we actually factor in all of the different tragedies or disruptions that could happen with the event? The second thing that we would have them to do is to address the adaptive challenges. And that means have a committee of essential event task force that will be able to process all of those events. That's right, almost like a central hub committee that doesn't have to know all of the work, but they need to be those people that can make a decision or get information to very quickly. In addition to that, allowing for an outside organization to serve as a committee member to support the leadership team, to keep them open to possibilities. This group, while they are experienced in doing this multiple years, the leadership or the people organizing changes every couple of years. So they don't necessarily know some of the things that could that they could plan for that they actually don't have. Consider learning about each of the leadership and the team members' strengths, weaknesses, and allowing people to operate in those gifts. That is very key because instead of assigning people to just certain areas to work on, people actually can be assigned tasks that relate to what it is that they're gifted in, which actually could save them some time. And the last thing, addressing the technical and adaptive challenges, creating a shared work hub that leaders, volunteers, and stakeholders all have access to for the communication programs. Within this messaging, within this case study, we recognize that there were people that were not being communicated with that needed to be communicated with, whether it was a participant, whether it was a speaker. And unlike the project management software mentioned in the first step, this shared work hub would allow everyone to have access to the pertinent information that's necessary for this event. And the last thing, creating a phone tree or contact list that will allow everyone to be a part of the firsthand information related to the conference area. This has allowed for people to communicate very quickly, and so that's why that action plan was created. Now, with this event, there were a couple of potential consequences. And so here we share the event. There could be consequences with relationships, revenue, guests, and perceptions. So if they continue with the event, it can actually cause people to be stranded, people to be hurt, and there to be empty seats, which actually doesn't look good whenever you're doing press and publicity for the next year, as they have used previous years to do that. If they were to cancel the event, the unintended cost would actually be the loss of revenue. The relationships that they built with members, sponsors, speakers, and attendees could actually stand the time beyond the technical issues, just because a lot of these relationships were built either from the students that were working on the project, some of the previous sponsors, etc. But not having a plan for how the organizations who are looking to invest in the conference would actually be a great addition for them to actually have a plan for them to be able to engage and invest even under difficult situations is what they've had thus far. The revenue. So the great thing is that funds raised for the event are raised for the specific event, and so there's no carryover money projected. Their goal was to always break even and to not lose money, but there should be some type of contingency plan on how this event can be profitable for the future so that each year they have some seed money to start up with that will allow them to not stress about raising literally every penny, whether it's through registrations or whether it's through sponsorships or donations. The guests, those people who have attended the event will be fulfilled. And those who choose to stay home, and they'll be safe. And they will feel as though they actually missed out on the event. However, not having the projected number of guests to attend could cause the following year's attendance to wane. And over the time, they've increased, and this conference has become something that people look forward to. And then the perception. Perception is our reality. And so this organization has a reputation that will save them from any ridicule long-term, because everyone knows life happens and some things that we cannot control include the weather. But when it comes to people's money, you have to communicate with the guest, and not communicating with them does not build the trust for the organization. So these are our final recommendations, and there are 4 of them. 1, to purchase event insurance. 1, because that's going to give them less stress related to the event for people who have paid for tickets and all of the things that really an act of God would they could not control. Broaden their planning team, as we've discussed through the beginning all the way until the end. Because of the timing of the event, the committee, the original ladies, didn't think about the weather. However, if their planning team had included someone from facility services or it included someone from emergency management, it actually could have allowed for more voices to be around the table firsthand versus after the fact, which is when they started to scramble. The third recommendation, define the leaders of the leaders. This organization may not have a long history of that, but it actually has no defined leadership. Their co-leadership is great until there's someone that actually needs to make a decision. The bucks do have to stop with someone, and someone has to be able to make that decision. And then we've stated this before, and that's why I made it into the recommendations, create a communication plan. What happened was not good on the organization's front, to speakers, to sponsors, to guests, even to the campus vendors. Everyone has a working hand within this project, should have working knowledge of how everything is coming together. And with that being said, this is our case study, Sink or Swim, for DOL 754 with Dr. Martin, and of course at Gardner-Webb University, Donald Berenger, myself, and Angela Clayton presenting.